Azerbaijan Airlines says early indications suggest external interference, both technical and physical, caused its passenger jet to crash in Kazakhstan on Wednesday. The airline says the aircraft's tail section shows damage that resembles impact holes left by anti-aircraft weapons. The findings are fueling speculation that a Russian surface-to-air missile hit the plane, causing it to crash. The Kremlin has not responded to the accusations, but Russian aviation authorities have said a Ukrainian drone attack was underway near the plane's intended destination in Chechnya. DW correspondent Sergei Satanovski in Riga told us more on the early findings of the investigation, including those claims of external interference.
Yeah, well, that's correct. Azerbaijan Airlines says their aircraft that crashed on Wednesday experienced physical and technical external interference. And earlier today, they suspended flights to several regions in Russia that are affected by Ukrainian drone attacks and where air defense systems are, of course, active. But what the airline didn't say is what caused the interference. But it seems like the Azerbaijani government seems to know who is to blame in the plane crash. As of now, they articulate their position through anonymous sources in the Western and Azerbaijani media. For example, Euronews and Reuters cite their sources among Azerbaijani officials who say the plane was mistakenly struck by the Russian air defense system Panzer S. Today, some sources in the president's office told Azerbaijani media that they expect the recognition of this fact, an apology, and also that Russia pays compensation.
DW's Sergei Satanovski. For more on the investigation, I'm joined by aviation expert Richard Levy, who's in Dallas, Texas, of course, in the United States. So, Richard, we spoke on Wednesday when this was all unfolding, and you suggested air defenses could very well have been involved. What do you make of what we're learning now?
Michael, I am more than convinced that it was Russian air defenses. Based on the photos that you just showed, there's holes in the back of the aircraft. That's the tail section of the aircraft. Not only does that affect controllability because you have the horizontal and the vertical stabilizer controls that help the pitch and the roll of the airplane, but apparently the shrapnel attacked the hydraulic lines of the aircraft. That's how you control and fly the airplane. Also, it could affect the electrical systems of the airplane, which affects communications. So I'm convinced beyond a doubt it was not a strike of birds, as you and I have already talked about. And I don't believe it was because of fog in Grozny they were not allowed to land. I think the Russian air traffic controllers directed them to depart the area.
We hear you loud and clear. Investigators have recovered the plane's black boxes. Remind us how crucial they might be to figuring out exactly what happened.
Unbelievable crucial, Michael. You have the CVR cockpit voice recorder. We're going to hear all the communications. If not the last 30 minutes, it could be an hour or so. It depends on the Embraer systems. But the conversations between the captain and the first officer, and they will recover the flight data recorder, which will show how they were able to or unable to fly the aircraft. Remember, Flight Radar 24 in Switzerland was catching the data from the transponder on the airplane, and they saw the airplane climbing and descending. They had controllability problems for sure.
Several airlines, including Azeri Air, have suspended flights to and from Russian cities. Just a precaution?
It's an excellent idea. Look, since 2014, this is the third aircraft shot down by surface-to-air missiles. The first one was a surface-to-air missile. It was 1983, Ukrainian Airlines in Russian airspace. The crew made a mistake there. But all safety precautions should be taken now to avoid areas where there might be drone activity. And what happened here, this Embraer 190 was mistaken for a drone.
I'm curious, what does this say to you about air safety in conflict zones? Could more airlines have to rethink their policies on maintaining flights despite the very real possible dangers?
Number one, yes. Airlines need to redispatch their flights to completely avoid these areas. Two, the countries involved in conflicts need to absolutely close the airspace. No airline flying anywhere near these areas whatsoever.
That's aviation expert Richard Levy in Dallas, Texas. Many thanks to you, sir.
Thank you, Michael.
And for more on this story, let's cross over to our correspondent in Riga, Sergei Satanovski. DW has been reporting from Riga since Russian authorities shut down our offices in Moscow. Sergei, external interference is what reportedly brought down that aircraft. What else has Azerbaijan said about this?
Yeah, well, that's correct. Azerbaijan Airlines says their aircraft that crashed on Wednesday experienced physical and technical external interference. And earlier today, they suspended flights to several regions in Russia that are affected by Ukrainian drone attacks and where air defense systems are, of course, active. But what the airline didn't say is what caused the interference. But it seems like the Azerbaijani government seems to know who is to blame in the plane crash. As of now, they articulate their position through anonymous sources in the Western and Azerbaijani media. For example, Euronews and Reuters cite their sources among Azerbaijani officials who say the plane was mistakenly struck by the Russian air defense system Panzer S. Today, some sources in the president's office told Azerbaijani media that they expect the recognition of this fact, an apology, and also that Russia pays compensation.
And what about Russian officials? What has been their response to all of this?
Well, there is not much reaction on the Russian side. The most high-ranking official that has commented on this topic is the Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, and he, for example, refused to comment on any allegations about the Russian strike and called on all the parties to wait until the investigation in Kazakhstan is complete. But at the same time, something what appears to be yielding to pressure from Azerbaijan happened today. And so the head of the Federal Air Transport Agency, Dmitry Yadrov, gave more details about what happened on Wednesday. He said that the airport in Grozny was closed for departures and arrivals, and all aircraft were required to leave the area because of a Ukrainian drone attack. And what he also mentioned is that the area was covered in dense fog.
Okay, so no admissions from Russian officials, but also, it seems, no denials here. What is Russian media saying about all of this? How are they covering it?
That's an interesting question, because here we have to differentiate between the Russian state-run media and the pro-Kremlin military bloggers. So government media tend to downplay the incident. They say, for example, don't mention the main version of the crash, which is the Russian air defense systems strike, probably by mistake. They are rather talking about a collision with a bird, a version that was mentioned before, right after the crash. But that's not the case with the pro-Kremlin military bloggers that became very popular in Russia after the Russian full-scale invasion in Ukraine, and who often also spread Kremlin's narratives. And so what they're talking about, that their main version is that there was a mistake by Russian anti-aircraft systems that struck the plane.
Okay, DW correspondent Sergei Satanovski in Riga for us. Thank you.